Well, Liz, a couple of months ago when I came on, you asked me what I'd buy right then. I said there would be blood in the streets, and I didn't really realize it'd be this much blood and
Hmm.
all over international. But what's happening right now, sure, the market has gotten cheaper, and some quality stocks are available at lower prices. But what also happened is the NASDAQ bubble got burst, and there are lots of companies that were trading at 190 times price to sales or 160 times price to sales. They're still not cheap. So, you have to be really careful. You have to be really selective. And you know me, in the best of times, only 1% of companies rank out through
Anyway,
all the
yeah.
magnet screens. So I don't think we've hit bottom yet. And I think simply if you had a real long term, you could nibble at high quality. But the NASDAQ advanced decline line hit a brand new low last week. This is a very rough market, and most things are not cheap yet.
John, just a moment ago, we're right there actually. The NASDAQ is now in bear territory. You need to see a loss of about 467 points. So at the moment, we're down 469. Where do you see the opportunities? Let's at least start with something like that.
Thank you, Liz. Good afternoon. I think from an opportunity standpoint, investors need to look at the trends going into the geopolitical conflict, because looking at the trends going into it, we had already seen value firming relative to growth. We had seen the S&P 500 firming relative to the NASDAQ 100. We'd seen equal weighted S&P index outperform the cap weighted index. So all those indications, value growth, all those are looking at relative outperformance. So they're still down, but they're not down as much. And I think as we get some clarity here, we've seen historically geopolitical events don't change the trend, they reinforce the trend. And I think that's something investors should count on.
At a time like this, what I want our viewers to understand is I am looking at my screens, all the stocks, all the indices, currencies, commodities, and I'm looking at headlines. There is this headline that simply says that John Kirby, who was giving the press conference for the Pentagon, said U.S. is absolutely assessing Russia's move toward long-range strikes, and that those are increasing civilian casualties, damage to civilian infrastructure, and clearly, and I know you guys aren't war experts, but we just had General Jack Keane on, and he truly feels, Jordan, that this is really ramping up. We are right on the border of Ukraine, where General Mark Milley of the Joint Chiefs is overseeing. He made an unannounced trip to the border. Didn't say which country that borders Ukraine, but he's there watching C-17s bringing all kinds of weaponry to Ukraine. I think you're right. Things could only ramp up, and then we haven't seen the bottom yet. What is at play
Well,
here?
Liz,
Is it
I've been
simply
watching
oil?
your show, and don't blame yourself for wearing red. It's got nothing to do with it today, okay? But the thing is, they need to sit down and talk, and I don't see that happening. So let me just also point out, important to me is not what went down the most, but in this market, what went down the least and on the lowest volume is really what's in the best hands. And there are some high-quality, large-cap drug companies, the Regenerons, the Vertex, that on the magnet model is selecting them, the AbbVies with nice dividends. So the thing is, people make the mistake of what went down the most, but I'm going to tell you that some NASDAQ stocks that are down 50% that are going to get cut in half again because they were just bid up, I think, ridiculously. And when people are confident, Liz, they'll buy anything at any price. And when the confidence goes out, even high quality gets overshot to the negative. So you have to be super careful, high quality, and focus on cash flow.
John, I want to get John in here. We've got 1 minute left before the closing bell rings. The volatility index is up about 12%, so we do see a spike here to 35.82. What is your long-term game here for your investors, John?
Yeah, I think with a VIX at 35, to really see capitulation, we need to see put calls blow out, and we need to see, I think, the VIX at a 4 handle. When we get to that, I think the long-term conviction is then playing the value play that I recommended earlier. And to the other guest comments about, quality stocks, finding some of those value names, some of those large cap value names in the material space, in the industrial space, and yes, even some defensive characteristics within healthcare. And longer term, I still think the market can run commensurate with profits, probably 8% this year from where we began in January 1st.
John Lynch, Jordan Kimmel, on a very crazy wild day. It looks like the Dow is going to close down more than 800 points. The NASDAQ closes in bear market territory. And as you can see, it is a day of red on the screen. That'll do it for us. Kudlow's next.